Or have we got the wrong way? Is it working now? Working? Working? Yes? Okay. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We are in our second Torah reading of this year. We're in our second service, service number 2, on page 112. Ma tovu alecha Yaakov, mishknotecha Yisrael, v'ani bravchastecha avo veitecha, eshtachavei ehalchal koshecha ba'yiratecha. Adonai ahavti me'om beitecha, umkom mishkon kvodecha, eshtachavei ve'echra'a, evracha lifnei Adonai osi, v'ani tefilati lecha Adonai eitz ratzon, Elohim barov chastecha, aneni be'emet yishecha. On the middle of page 112. Eternal God, a mystery surrounds my life. What came before it and what lies beyond it are shrouded in darkness. But in the darkness is your presence, and in the mystery your love. No mind can grasp the splendor of your being. No tongue can express the majesty of your works. Yet there are times when we sense a reality that is beyond our mortal sight. May this Sabbath be such a time for us. Help us to hear your voice, to find your image in our souls, and to be at peace. Elohim neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. 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 Ata barata, ata yitzarta, ata nafachta bim, v'ata mishmara b'kirbi, kol zman shehanashama b'kirbi, modei ani lefanecha Adonai Elohai v'Elohei avotai, ribon kol hama'asim, adon kol hanashamot. Baruch atah Adonai, asher beyado nefesh kol chai, v'ruach kol basar ish. Let's read together on the middle of page 113. Praise be the one at whose command the world came to be. We praise you, our God, sovereign of the universe, worshipped by your people, lauded and glorified by those who love and serve you. With songs of praise we extol you and proclaim your sovereignty, sole source of the life of all worlds. We praise you, sovereign God, to whom all praise is due. Kol kochvei boker lecha yashiru, ki zaharehem mimcha yazhiru, uvnei Elohim ondim al mishmarot, lail v'yom, shem nedar, ya'adiru, ukahal kadoshim kiblu mehem, v'chol shachar l'shachar beitzecha ya'iru. Let's read responsively on page 114. The heavens declare the glory of God. Day unto day utters speech. Yet there is no speech, there are no words. And still their call goes out to all the earth. God's teaching is perfect. God's word is unfailing. God's precepts are right. God's commandments are clear. God's doctrine is pure. God's guidance is true. They are more to be desired than gold, than any amount of fine gold. Your servant pays heed to them. Who is aware of errors? Hold back your servant also from willful sins. Then I shall be blameless. Anim zmirot v'shirim erok, ki elecha nafshi ta'arok, nafshi chimda batzel yadecha, lat'at kol raz sodecha, midei dabar'i bikvodecha, homeli bi el dodecha, yerevna shichi alecha, ki nafshi ta'arok elecha. Please rise if you feel able on the bottom of 116. Yishtabach shimcha la'ad malkeinu, ha'el ha'melech ha'gadol v'ha'kadosh, b'shamayim u'va'aretz, ki lecha na'eh Adonai Eloheinu, v'Elohei avoteinu, shiru shvacha, hallel v'zimra, brachot v'hodaot, me'ata ve'ad olam. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher b'shirei zimra. Please turn to page 135. Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. You may be seated. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam, yotzer or u'vorei choshech, oseh shalom u'vorei et hakol, hame'ir la'aretz v'ladarim aleha, barachamim u'vtuvo makadesh, b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh v'reshit. Ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai, kulam b'chokhmah asita, mala ha'aretz kinyanecha. Titbarach Adonai Eloheinu al shevach ma'aseh yadecha, ve'al ma'orei or she'asita, yifarucha selah, baruch atah Adonai, yotzer ha'ma'orot. And on the middle of page 136, let's read together. Great is your love for us, eternal God, and abundant your compassion. We praise you, O God. In love you have called your people Israel to serve you. Please rise. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'ribata bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha v'derech u'v'shofbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshatam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha u'ktavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha. You may be seated. Leman tizkaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kadoshim leloechem Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim Lichot lachem lelohim Ani Adonai Elohechem. Good and beautiful and true, sound, established and enduring are these words now and forever. True it is, Eternal One, that you are our sovereign God and Redeemer, as you were the God and Redeemer of our ancestors. You are our Maker, the rock of our salvation. We have known you always as our helper and our liberator. There is no God but you. Truly you are first and you are last. We have no Redeemer but you. You redeemed us from Egypt and freed us from the house of bondage. Then, with great joy, Moses, Miriam, and all Israel together sang to you this song. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha neda b'kodesh, nora tehilot oseh feleh, nora tehilot oseh feleh. Shira chadasha shibchu ge'ulim לשמחה על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו, אדוני Golenu Adonai, Tzvaot Shemo, Kadosh Israel, Baruch Atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael, Gal Yisrael, Yisrael. On page 140, please rise. Yananananananai Adonai, Yanananananai Safatai Tiftach, Yanananananana Ufi Yagid, Ufi Yagid Tahilatecha, Yananananananai Adonai, Yanananananai Safatai Tiftach, Yanananananana Ufi Yagid, Ufi Yagid Tahilatecha, Yananananananai Adonai, Yanananananai Safatai Tiftach, Yanananananana Ufi Yagid, Ufi Yagid Tahilatecha. Baruch Atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'Mevii Gula Livnei V'neihem, Lem'an Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer u'Mashiach u'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham v'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Machayei Meitzim et Harav lehoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morid hageshem, Mazrech hashemesh u'morid hatal, Mechalchel chayim bechesed, Mechayei meitim berachamim rabim, Somech noflim v'rofei cholim, U'matzir asurim, Umkayem emunato lishenei rafar, Michamocha b'al gvurot, Umido melach, Melech memitz u'mechayei, U'matzmiach Yeshua. V'ne'eman atah lahachayot meitim, Baruch atah Adonai, mechayei hameitim. We sanctify your name on earth, as in the prophet's vision the host of heaven sing your praise above. For so it is written, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot, Meloch ol haaretz kavodo. God's glory fills the universe. Baruch kavod Adonai mimkomo. From your concealment, majestic one, reveal yourself and rule over us, for you are our hope. Yimloch Adonai leolam, Elohai Tzion, ledor vador, Hallelujah. Ledor vador, ledor לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך, קדושתך נקדיש. ושבתך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לא ימוש לעולם ועד. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. You may be seated. Let's read together on the bottom of page 114. You inspired our ancestors to hallow this day for your service. When upon its coming we pause to contemplate our life, we learn anew that we do not live by bread alone, but also by the spiritual nourishment we receive when we open ourselves up to influence. We thank you for the Sabbath day and for the opportunity it offers to enhance the quality of our lives. We thank you for its joy and for its peace. May our worship help us to take into our hearts this message of holiness and consecrate all our days by devotion to what is true, beautiful, and good. Yismechu b'malchutcha, Yismechu b'malchutcha, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg. Hamakadshe Shevi'i, Hamakadshe Shevi'i, Kulam Yisbe'u v'yitangu mituvecha, V'hashvi'i, והשביעי רצית בו וקידשתו. חמדת ימים, חמדת ימים, אותו קראת זכר למעשה בראשית. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, רצי במנחתנו, קדשנו במצוותיך, ותן חלקנו בתורתך. שמחנו מטובך, ושמחנו בישועתך. ותהה ליבנו לעבדך באמת, והנחילנו אדוני אלוהינו, באהבה וברצון שבת קודשך, וינוחו בה ישראל, מקדשי שמך. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Eternal God, be gracious to your people Israel, and in your love accept their prayers. May our worship now and always be acceptable in your sight. We praise you, O God, whom alone we worship in reverence. Modim anachnu lach she'atah hu Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu le'olam va'ed. צור חיינו, מגן ישענו, אתה הוא לדור ודור. נודה לך ונספר תהילתך על חיינו, המסורים בידיך, ועל נשמותינו הפקודות לך, ועל ניסיך שבכל יום עמנו, ועל נפלותיך וטובתך, שבכל עת, ערב ובוקר וצהריים. ברוך אתה אדוני, הטוב שמך, ולך נאה להודות. Sim shalom tova, sim shalom tova uvracha, sim shalom tova, sim shalom tova uvracha. Chen v'chesed v'rachamim, chen v'chesed v'rachamim, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, amecha, sim shalom, tova, sim shalom, tova uvracha. Let us spend some time now in meditative silence. Osei shalom bimromav, uyasei shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol bnei Adam. Osei shalom bimromav, uyasei shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol bnei Adam. Yasei shalom, yasei shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, yasei shalom, yasei shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yasei shalom, yasei shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yasei shalom, yasei shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Barbara, would you mind coming up to read our additional reading for this week?
The Rainbow. This is a poem by Elizabeth Topper from Parashah Poems. When the rainbow appears in the cloud, will you see and remember? I forswore destruction. Will you save the earth and its untold species? I inverted the bow, a weapon transformed. Will you pursue peace? I forget, but one human race. Will you cherish the beauty of the spectrum's every shade?
Great. We turn now to our Torah service, and anybody who's involved, please do come up and help me out. It's on page 481. Ein kamocha ba'Elohim Adonai, ve'ein kamasecha, malchutzecha malchut kol olamim, umemsheltecha b'chol dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai imloch, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Eternal One is our God, the Eternal God is one. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. One is our God, and great our sovereign. Holy is God's name. Gadlul Adonai Yiti, Unarama Mashemo Yachdav. Lecha Adonai Hagadula, V'Hagibura, V'Hatiferet, V'Netzach, V'Aod, Kichol B'Shamayim U'Va'aretz, Lecha Adonai HaMamlecha, V'Mitnaseh Lechol Lerosh. You may be seated. So, we just had a poem. What's the connection? What is this week's parsha?
Noach.
Lovely, fantastic. And what's Noach got to do with the rainbow? Huh? The Keshet, the rainbow. What's the connection? Fantastic. The good news after the flood. The rainbow is a sign. And since then it has become a sign of hope, of peace, of pride, of many other things. And personally, I am convinced that the reason that there were so many kids named Noah in 2020 and 2021 was because we all saw the rainbows in people's windows for the NHS. And somewhere subconsciously remembered that the rainbow sign had a name attached to it. So we're going to...
I always say to school kids when we talk about rainbow, and I say, I defy you to see a rainbow and not smile. Because everybody goes, look, rainbow!
And do you know, it will come up in the sermon in a bit, do you know what you're supposed to say as a religious Jew when you see a rainbow?
Is it Baruch atah Adonai something?
It is! In just that many words. Baruch atah Adonai zocher et habrit. Blessed are you, God, who remembers the covenant. And the very first word that we're going to get here is yizkor, is that God remembered Noah. Thank you. You ready? Yamod Rachma El Ben Meisha Nisan Lekriyat et HaTorah.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher b'chabanu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. Can you hold that end? Lovely. Sorry. Genesis chapter 8, verses 1 to 11. I'm just finding the beginning. ויזכור אלוהים את נוח ואת כל החיה ואת כל הבהמה אשר איתו. בדבר ויעבור אלוהים רוח על הארץ. וישקו המים ויחסרו מאי נץ התהום וארבעת השמיים ויקלה הגשם מן השמיים וישבו המים מעל הארץ. הלוך ושוב ויחסרו המים מקץ 50 ומאה יום, ותנוח התהווה בחודש השביעי בשביעי עשר, יום לחודש על הרי עררת, והמים היו הלוך וחסור על החודש העשירי. בעשירי באחד לחודש נראו ראשי ההרים, ויהיו מקץ 40 יום, ויפתח נוח את חלון הטבע אשר עשה, וישלח את הערב, ויצאו ושוב עד יבשת המים מעל הארץ, וישלח את היונה מאיתו לראות הקולו, המים מעל פני האדמה. ולא מצא היונה מנוח לכף רגלה. ותשב אליו אל הטבע, כי מים על פני כל הארץ, וישלח ידו, ויקחה, ויבוא עתה אליו אל הטבע, ויאכיל עוד 7 ימים אחרים. ויוסף שלח את היונה מן הטבע, ותבוא אליו היונה לעת ערב, והנה עלה זית טרף בפיה. ויודע נוח כי לקח המים מעל הארץ. Now you read the blessing after.
The bracha first.
Yes.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam natah b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Parashat Noach. But God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and the livestock that were with him in the ark. And God sent a wind over the earth, and the waters receded. Now the springs of the deep and the floodgates of the heavens had been closed, and the rain had stopped falling from the sky. The water receded steadily from the earth. At the end of the 150 days, the water had gone down. And on the 17th day of the 7th month, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. The waters continued to recede until the 10th month, and on the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains became visible. After 40 days, Noah opened a window he had made in the ark and sent out a raven, and it kept flying back and forth until the water had dried up from the earth. Then he sent out a dove to see if the water had receded from the surface of the ground. But the dove could find nowhere to perch because there was water over all the surface of the earth. So it returned to Noah in the ark. He reached out his hand and took the dove and brought it back to himself in the ark. He waited 7 more days and again sent out the dove from the ark. When the dove returned to him in the evening, there in its beak was a freshly plucked olive leaf. Then Noah knew that the water had receded from the earth.
And now say to you, may you be blessed with many signs of God's presence. May you be able to delight in rainbows and to see the wonder that is this earth. Mi sheberach avotenu v'yemotenu hu yevarech rachmael ben Mesha Nisan bavor she'ala l'Torah lichvot HaTorah lichvot HaMakom v'lichvot HaShabbat. May the one who blessed our ancestors in generations past bless you today on this occasion of coming up to Torah in honor of God, in honor of Shabbat, and in honor of Torah. Amen. Please rise for the elevation of the scroll. It really is, yes. Baruch shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael be'kedushato. It's too heavy, yeah. Especially when all the weight's on one hand, yeah. Okay, now, the person I'd lined up to do the Haftarah reading hasn't turned up. So, Tina, would you jump in and do the honours? The Haftarah is from Zephaniah chapter 3, verses 8 to 20. I've got it here, it's all right. And you may all sit. So, brachas are here, Haftarah's here, and it goes over to the next page.
So I'm not prepared. Do you mind if I do that now?
Of course.
I get
Go for it.
Sorry. We praise you, eternal one, our God, sovereign of the universe. You inspired faithful prophets and took pleasure in the words they spoke in truth. We praise you, O God, for the gift of Torah, your servant Moses, your people Israel, and the prophets of truth and righteousness. So, yes, the Haftarah is Noah, Zephaniah, chapter 3, verses 8 to 20. Therefore wait for me, declares the Eternal One, for the day I will stand up to testify. I have decided to assemble the nations, to gather the kingdoms, and to pour out my wrath on them, all my fierce anger. The whole world will be consumed by the fire of my jealous anger. Then I will purify the lips of the peoples, that all of them may call on the name of the Eternal One and serve him, shoulder to shoulder. From beyond the rivers of Cush, my worshippers, my scattered people, will bring me offerings. On that day, you, Jerusalem, will not be put to shame for all the wrongs you have done to me, because I will remove from you your arrogant boasters. Never again will you be haughty on my holy hill, but I will leave within you the meek and humble. The remnant of Israel will trust in the name of the Eternal. They will do no wrong, they will tell no lies. A deceitful tongue will not be found in their mouths. They will eat and lie down, and no one will make them afraid. Sing, daughter Zion, shout aloud, Israel. Be glad and rejoice with all your heart, daughter Jerusalem. The Eternal One has taken away your punishment.
It's not done.
Oh, sorry. Oh, and there's more. Sorry. Has taken away your punishment. He has turned back your enemy. The Eternal One, the King of Israel, is with you. Never again will you fear any harm. On that day they will say to Jerusalem, do not fear Zion. Do not let your hands hang limp. The Eternal One, your God, is with you. The mighty warrior who saves. God will take great delight in you. In love, God will no longer rebuke you, but will rejoice over you with singing. I will remove from you all who mourn over the loss of your appointed festivals, which is a burden and reproach for you. At that time, I will deal with all who oppressed you. I will rescue the lame. I will gather the exiles. I will give them praise and honour in every land where they have suffered shame. At that time, I will gather you. At that time, I will bring you home. I will give you honour and praise among all the peoples of the earth when I restore your fortunes before your very eyes, says the Eternal One. For the Torah, for the privilege of worship, for the prophets, and for this Sabbath day, which you, Eternal God, have given us for holiness and rest, for honour and beauty, for all these we offer thanks. May all the living come to praise your name forever. We praise you, O God, for the holiness of the Sabbath.
Please rise with the Torah for the loyal prayers.
Eternal God, whose dominion embraces the universe, we ask your blessing for our sovereign Lord, King Charles, and all the royal family, for those who govern our country and all who influence the quality of its national life. Make them conscious of their responsibility and teach them to exercise it in accordance with your will. May we all help to fashion in this country a society that excels in freedom and justice, tolerance and compassion, so that it may be a force for righteousness and peace in the life of humanity. Eternal God, as you blessed our ancestors in generations past, bless now this congregation, its leaders and its members, and all who enter this synagogue to meet, to study and to pray. Comfort the sorrowing hearts among us, and heal those in anxiety or pain. May we all find here community and friendship, renewal of purpose and hope, a deeper understanding of our heritage, and a sense of your abiding presence. Bless all congregations of the house of Israel throughout the world. Let those who live under oppressive rule soon be freed, and may we all unite to witness to your truth and do your will. Eternal God, our rock and redeemer, grant blessing to the state of Israel, created to fulfill an age-old dream and to be a haven for the oppressed. Inspire its leaders and citizens with faithfulness to the aims of its founders, to develop the land for the benefit of all its inhabitants, and to implement the prophetic ideals of liberty and justice. May they live in harmony with one another and in peace with their neighbours, and cause to come true once more the ancient vision, that out of Zion shall go forth Torah and the word of God from Jerusalem. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you. You coming down?
Ya Hallelu et Shem Adonai, ki niskav shemo levado, Hodu al eretz v'shamayim, vayaren keren le'amo, tehila lechol chasidav, Livnei Yisrael, Ram Kerovo, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. At the top of page 489, behold, a good doctrine has been given you, do not forsake it. It's Chaim למחזיקים בה ותומכיה מאושה דרכיה דרכי נועם וכל נתיבותיה Shalom, Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem. Shkoyach, thank you. Thank you. Shkoyach. Yes, you may be seated. That last line that we say before we go into the Torah portion, before we go into the sermon as we finish the Torah service, it's a really good segue to what I want to talk about. Return to us, O God, and we will return to you. Does anybody know where it's from? It's from the book of Eicha. It's from the book of Lamentations. It's the second to last verse of the book of Lamentations, where it's a cry out to God, a feeling of absence. And in fact, the very last line of Lamentations says, "Unless you have abandoned us completely." And we cut that bit out and reread the second to last verse saying, "Please return to us, God." So as if repeating that possibility that God may have abandoned us, and reaffirming our faith that we still believe. Why won't God just stop the war? How many more signs do you need that God is not there? This was the question that one congregant asked last week when I went round for a cup of tea. In fact, a few of you have asked similar things like this recently. And it's not coming from a place of triviality or arrogance. It's expressing a real despair at the state of the world. The ongoing war, which has claimed far too many lives, is enough to incite a crisis of faith in even the most devout believers. Why will God not just stop the war? It's a serious question, and one that deserves a serious answer. How desperate are we all to see the hostages returned home, to see a ceasefire, to see Gaza rebuilt, to know that the Israelis will no longer hide in bomb shelters, nor the Palestinians flee from their homes, to know that no more people will be rushed to hospitals, to see an end to all the violence and bloodshed. And it goes deeper than that. How much do we wish that this last year had not happened, that there was no war for us to wish to end? In our anguish, at the sadness of it all, we cry out to the heavens. There is no answer from on high. So we wonder if anyone is there listening at all. I will not be so presumptuous as to imagine I have the answers. I do not know the nature of God and can give no convincing proof of how our Creator lives in this world. In fact, if I found anyone who did, I would think they were a charlatan. The great 15th century Sephardi rabbi, Yosef Albo, said, "If I knew God, I would be God." We are all of us animals scrambling in the dark as we try to make sense of the mystery. But we come to synagogue so that we can scramble in the dark together, feeling that if we unpick the mystery in community, we will get further and develop better ideas. Allow me then to share some of my own thinking so that we can be in that conversation together. The question sticks with me. How many more signs do you need that God is not there? In our Torah, there were indeed times when God sent signs of presence. In the early chapters of Genesis, God walks through the Garden of Eden in the cool of day. At the Exodus from Egypt, God came with signs and wonders and an outstretched arm. As the Israelites wandered in the desert, God appeared as a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. This is the kind of sign that we might want from God now then. Over the summer at a hostel in Jerusalem, I met an evangelical Christian who was absolutely convinced that everything happening in the Middle East was already foretold by the Bible and that God was about to rain down hell on the Palestinians and then all the Jews would finally accept Jesus. Suffice to say, I do not think such a God would be worthy of worship. And I highly doubt that this is the kind of divine intervention any of us would embrace. Is there an alternative way we could wish for a sign? some indication that someone greater than us is involved in this story and cares about human suffering. Perhaps just a gentle hand to reassure us that everything will be okay. I think deep down, most of us know that that kind of sign is not coming either. God did, however, send another sign in the Torah. A sign, perhaps, not to look for signs. A sign that God was not going to get involved, no matter how desperate it all seemed. That sign was the rainbow. At the start of the story of Noah, the world was filled with violence. Everyone had turned to war, nation against nation, all against all. The entire planet was rife with destruction. God slammed down on the reset button. God sent a flood so catastrophic that it killed everyone bar one family. The flood was like a thorough system cleanse, designed to strip the earth back to its original state and allow Noah to rebuild. Then, as soon as the rains had stopped and the land had returned, God looked at the devastation and swore, never again. God promised Noah, I will maintain my covenant with you. Never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of a flood, and never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. God hung a rainbow in the sky and told Noah that it was a symbol that God would not intervene anymore. Our Torah says, when I bring clouds over the earth and the bow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant between me and you and every living creature among all flesh, so that the waters shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. The rainbow then is a sign that God is there and a sign that God will not get involved. Even if humanity goes back to being as violent as it was in the generation of the flood, God is not going to step in and destroy as at the start. If the rainbow is a sign that God will not come and strike people down when the world is in crisis, it is also a sign of the other half of the covenant. God says to humanity, you must now be my hands on earth. We have to be the ones to do what we wish God would. For Jews in the rabbinic period, every rainbow was a reminder to them that God would not act, so they had to take the initiative. When they saw a rainbow, they would look up at the sky and say, blessed is God who remembers the covenant. According to the Jerusalem Talmud, no rainbow was seen during the entire lifetime of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai. He was so righteous and brought so many others to do good deeds that there was no need for humanity to be reminded of the covenant. Bar Yochai was one who acted so much like he was God's actor on earth that even God did not need to send reminders. The idea that human beings had to be God's hands became even more important in the post-Holocaust world. Rabbi Eliezer Berkowitz escaped from Germany in 1939 and went on to become one of the leading Orthodox rabbis of the 20th century. For him, a traditional religious Jew, grappling with the enormity of the Shoah, he had to find a way to understand God's seeming absence at Auschwitz. So, Rabbi Berkowitz said, the problem lay not with God's inaction, but with humanity's. In his book, Faith After the Holocaust, Berkowitz wrote, since history is man's responsibility, and I use the word man advisedly, one would in fact expect God to hide, to be silent, while humanity is going about its God-given task. responsibility requires freedom, but God's convincing presence would undermine the freedom of human decision. God hides in human responsibility and in human freedom. What Berkowitz is saying is that it might be in God's nature to prevent catastrophe, but it would undermine human nature if God did. In order that people can realize our freedom and our full potential, God has to stand back. It seems that in almost every generation, Jews are asking why God does not intervene to stop violence. In each generation, we find the same answer. God does not intervene because that is our job. It's not that any of these classical sources doubt God's existence or question God's presence. They just don't think it is God's responsibility to act, but ours. There is no flood coming to wipe out war, or lightning bolt coming down from the sky to strike down the wrongdoers. We began with a question. How many more signs do you need that God is not there? Perhaps we can now reframe it positively. How many more signs do you need that you must act? God is not going to stop war, so we have to do our bit to bring it to an end. Even in our small corner of the world, we have to do all we can to push for peace and justice. So, on the days when you find yourself looking for a sign, you be the sign. You need to be the sign to somebody else that there is hope in this world. You need to be the sign that peace is possible. You need to be the rainbow. Shabbat Shalom. Let us turn to Aleinu on page 310. Have I remembered that right, or I've got to remember that wrong? It's 520. Sorry, I'm still stuck in another movement.
It's funny that, because I still remember the page numbers from the Orthodox prayer book. I'm a child, unfortunately, if I go to a family service, I never say.
I once sat with Daisy Begod, and the two of us could recite by heart Aleinu in English as it appeared in Service of the Heart. These things just stick with you, don't they? Okay, please rise for Aleinu on page 520. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, אשר שם חלקנו לייחד את שמו, וגורלנו להמליך מלכותו. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוצר שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו. וידעת היום והשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ, ועל הארץ, מתחת עינות. On the top of 521. Trusting in you, eternal God, we hope soon to behold the glory of your might, when false gods will vanish from our hearts and idolatry cease forever. Help us to perfect the world by bringing it under your unchallenged rule, when all will invoke your name, relinquish evil, and turn to you alone. May all who dwell on earth come to know that to you every knee must bend and every tongue swear loyalty. Before you let them humble themselves, and to your glorious name let them give honor. Let all submit to your sovereign rule. May that time come soon and last forever. For ultimate sovereignty is yours, and to all eternity you will reign in glory. As it is written, the Eternal One shall reign forever. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, יחיה אדוני אחד, ושמו echad. Page 522, number 2. As we worship with you, O God, we think of those who once shared with us the joys and burdens of life and who are no longer in our midst. The sorrow of bereavement is softened by the bond of love which continues to unite us with our dear ones, and by our cherished memories of them, which we will always carry in our hearts. May all that was good in their lives remain with us as an influence for good. O God, grant consolation to those who are in sorrow and light to those in darkness. Teach us at all times to put our trust in you and to praise your name. At this time, we are especially remembering Pam and Norman Fletcher Jones, remembered by all their friends here at KLS. Dorothy Nyman, grandmother of Rebecca Singerman Knight, mother of Margaret Singerman, and mother-in-law of David Singerman. Denise Passau, mother of Dominique Schultz. Jamie Alachban Zadeh, husband of Mimi Zadeh, and father to Chloe, Susanna, and Jonathan. Does anybody have any names they would wish to add?
Just to say, I've just realised it's actually 10 years ago today since my grandma died. So make that connection.
My Father's Year Outside is coming up this week, Byron Darling. I keep forgetting to get him on the outside of the office.
On page 524, let us pray together. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, b'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach leolam ulalmei almayah. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitzromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei d'kudsha barichu. Le'ela min kol bechata v'shirata. Tush bechata v'nechimata. Damiram be'olma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom bimromav. Hu ya'asei shalom. עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל בני אדם v'imru amen. Please be seated. I'll invite up Andrew now to tell us about Mitzvah Day and all you can do to get involved.
So some of you will know, in fact probably most of you looking around, that each year KLS takes part in Mitzvah Day, which is the UK's largest faith-led day of social action. Guided by Jewish values, it brings together people of all faiths and no faith to volunteer side by side. A mitzvah is literally a commandment in Jewish law. However, it's often used to mean a good deed or an act of kindness. Mitzvah Day allows everyone to get involved in hands-on social action projects and is guided by the Jewish values of Tikkun Olam, repairing the world, Gemilut Hasidim, acts of kindness, and Tzedek, justice. Mitzvah Day is an opportunity for us all to make a positive difference to the world in which we live by giving our most valuable possession, time. Once again, KLS are partnering with the Kingston-based charity RB Cares, a group of volunteers that aims to mobilise the community to respond at pace to needs that arise within the borough of Kingston amongst hospital workers, carers, refugees and other vulnerable groups. In particular, we will again assist with their Warmer in Winter initiative to make up bags that will contain blankets, scarves, woolen hats, socks, hot water bottles, thermal mugs and a gift for those most at risk this winter due to the cost of living crisis and energy price cap rise. The target is to make and pack 250 bags. Support for making and supplying the items that go into the bags comes from around the local community, but we have a particularly valuable resource we can provide to this initiative by opening up our doors and offering our space for packing up the bags and sorting them ready for distribution. This will be our third year working with the charity, and we now have experience of coordinating this exercise to go along with a physical space in which to do it, and the contacts with our neighbours, particularly at St Mary's Church and our friends at the Dialogue Society, to make it a truly community event. This year's Mitzvah Day theme is Stronger Together. So please join us at 2 p.m. on Sunday the 24th of November when we will defy the forces that tear us apart by coming together to support a local charity and build bridges of commonality and emphasise the power of unity and collaboration. If you're able to join us, it would be great if you could let me know, and to this end I will remember to let Craig to get Craig to put my contact details in the newsletter next week, which I omitted to do last week. But yeah, if you can let me know, or anybody else, if you want to let the office know, Diane will be able to pass on the details to me. Thank you.
I think, oh gosh, you've got questions, wow.
I wanted to add something actually. I just wanted to, this is the thing when you're president, you can just come and say what you like. But I just want to say that Andrew and Helen did the most amazing job the last few years in organising this. And if you haven't been there, so when Andrew said the space, it was literally a conveyor belt system, more or less, in the hall, where you start with an empty bag and then you go around and you put in socks and a hot water bottle and a cup of soups and so on and so forth. And we had loads of people doing this, and at the end of this there was a huge pile of stuff ready to be delivered to these people. So first of all, it's really good fun and amazingly well organised. But the other thing is that, that across the Jewish community in Britain, what has really been a casualty of the last year has been interfaith work.
Yeah.
Because a lot of interfaith projects have fallen apart. So some of us here, for example, have belonged to a group called Nisan Nashim, which is a Jewish Muslim women's network. It's literally fallen apart in the past year. And so this is just really such an important opportunity that we've got. We're fortunate in Kingston that we've got the Dialogue Society, who are kind of a Turkish Muslim organisation, and we're still good friends and we're still working together. So I think it's like really important for everybody to take part. Right, Janet's
If I can add on that actually as well, to say, for the Dialogue Society, Their leader, Fethullah Gulen, died last week. So if you have personal connections with anybody at the Dialogue Society, please just text them, tell them that you're thinking of them. They've been so lovely. On my first day here, they came and brought flowers. Also, and while I think you are right that interfaith relations nationally have really deteriorated, here I've gone now to the installation of a new priest, 2 vicars have been to see me, the Dialogue Society have been. You have a really strong community here, and let's make sure that we're doing our bit. And thank you especially to Andrew and Helen for all that they do to...
Yes.
For those of us who can't come, because we actually can't come that Sunday, we've got to be elsewhere.
Yeah.
Can we donate? Can we?
So this year they haven't asked us to assist with making or collecting donations, just because they've built up such a huge network of people around the borough to help with things like that, and sponsors as well. But to that point, one of the things that we have talked about, and I decided not to include it in this just because it was all a bit much, but we have talked about trying to get across the idea that mitzvah isn't just for mitzvah day, it's for the whole year, and to that end we are talking to RB Cares about some of their other initiatives that are ongoing throughout the year, and ways in which we as a community can help to support some of those. So there are a number of things. There are quite a few that are sort of sewing and knitting based, just because of the type of people who are. For those that don't know, RB Cares grew out of an initiative during lockdown called Sewing for Kingston, which sewed 50,000 sets of scrubs for Kingston Hospital. So it's that kind of community that has grown into RB Cares. But there are also some initiatives around baking things that go into Kingston Hospital to support the staff and other people in there. And we're looking at other types of activity, both through RB Cares, but also stuff in Elmbridge that we can tap into to try and create sort of an opportunity for people to do things on a more ad hoc basis throughout the year. So hopefully we'll find something that you'd be able to do.
We also, Liz chairs the
Refugees.
Oh, okay. Right, okay. Well, if there's things through that we as a community could get involved with, then yes, happy to roll that in and try to get other people involved.
Depending on them, because they've gotten permission for their parents to come and join them.
Right.
Unfortunately, the parents are in Lebanon and had several, because they were Syrian refugees who went into Lebanon. And
Yeah.
several flights cancelled to help
Okay.
people get here. And it might be some useful things that the community
Okay.
could do.
Okay, yeah, well, we'll look into that.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you, Sir Andrew, for presenting on that. I hope to see everybody at Mitzvah Day, and I am looking forward to learning how to knit.
You make some chocolates left. You need some more of those.
I do. Who knows? Before you know it, winter will be over and I'll have exhausted my collection. Page 525. Adon olam asher malach b'terem kol yetzir nivra le'et nasa v'chefso kol azai melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora V'hu haya, v'hu hoeh, v'hu yihyeh b'tzifara. V'hu echad ve'ein sheni, להמשיל לו, להכבירה, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה. והוא אלי וחי גואלי וצור חבלי בעת צרה והוא ניסי ומנוס לי מנת כוסי ביום אקרא בידו אפקיד רוחי בעת אישה והעירה ועם רוחי גביעתי אדוני לי ולא אירא. May the one whose presence dwells in this house cause love and harmony, peace and friendship to dwell among you. Shabbat Shalom.